Hi, Instagram. We are now going live with the topic calculate your costs for financial success. So what I'm about to break down in this mini masterclass is to how to calculate your own personal cost per treatment and really gain control over your financial success and how to determine accurate price points for your facials. I'm gonna use facials as the example today, but you can use this to calculate your cost for massage, your costs as a makeup artist, your costs as whatever and whoever you are as a provider. But for today's example, I am going to use skincare facials as the example on how to break down your cost per treatment. And so before I get into calculating your costs for financial success today, I want to say thank you all ahead of time for joining. Today is the second education bit that's coming through, and all week long we are doing 2 a day, one at 10:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time and the following at 12:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So I hope you can join us throughout the week. We have other educators coming on. You just get to see my lovely face twice today, but all week we'll have a variety of educators and topics for you. Another reminder is at the end of the week, we are going to be holding a drawing for our in-person conference because, as some of you may remember, we did have an in-person conference planned this week, and we decided to pivot and push it to 2025 so that we could really show up first and show you who we are as the Holistic Spa Alliance, as a new community on the type of education and the type of inclusive success that we want to help everybody achieve. So we hope you enjoy these, and we hope you save the dates, April 7th and 8th of 2025 for our in-person conferences. And a little sneak peek of our swag bags that will be a part of next year's conference. We have 4 colors, and these will be complimentary as you register and join us next year. And they're also going to have, let me grab this, a copper water bottle in the bags. And of course, we're also going to have our sponsors and our exhibitors. Some of them are going to be filling these bags with goodies as well. So our linked bio is also going to give you access to sign up for a free 2-day ticket. At the end of the week, we're going to be giving a ticket away. So sign up, no strings attached. Just put your name on there. We're going to draw a name at the end of the week by random drawing. So let me grab my notes here. This is a big topic to really dive into today. So don't let this overwhelm you. I'm going to talk about it and I'm going to break it down as much as I can, but this is just maybe for some of you the first conversation around it, and it's going to possibly feel like a lot. But what I have done is I've created a resource on our website for you under holisticspaalliance.com, and under resources, there's a cost per treatment calculation form. I do have a free one, and then we have another option that's a really in-depth to give you very personalized numbers as well. But for those of you that want to take on the challenge, I'm going to go over those steps with you today. So calculating your costs for financial success is important just for that. A lot of times I get the question, how much do you charge for your facial? Especially when I gather to do group CEU classes. The question inevitably always comes up. And it is important to know what your competitors are charging. It's important to be competitive, but it's also important to have true numbers that reflect what you are offering for a service. And then, of course, finding that sweet spot, because you don't want to be so aggressive and high with your price points unless you have something very unique to deliver, unless your costs can justify that and your clients are getting some amazing value from it. But then on the flip side, just because you might find out you have a really large margin, you don't want to undercut either, because that will also disturb, just the flow and where you're at with price points within your community. So The first thing you're going to want to do when you decide to really dive into understanding your cost per treatment is you're going to need a pen and a paper. You're probably going to need to go on your bank account and really dive in and dissect and look at what you pay for within your business. So let's start first with the CPT itself, the cost per treatment. The actual cost to perform, in today's example, it's going to be a facial. So to learn what that initial cost is, we need to start by making a list of everything that we use in a facial to execute a facial. And there's 3 categories that we're going to look at. We're first going to look at disposables, things like your Q-tips, your cotton rounds, maybe lancets, things of that nature. The second category we're going to look at is laundry, and the third category we're going to look at is products. So the first thing we need to do is we need to make a list of all of our disposables. Again, this is under a free resource, free calculator that you can download off of the website. But if you'd like to take notes, I'm going to really break this down. So your list for items used in a facial, to perform a facial, you're going to list, again, Q-tips, cotton rounds, gloves. Let's see, you wash your hands before you start the facial, so you're going to need hand soap. I don't do a lot of extractions, but I usually do put a lancet out to be used because there's usually something that just needs a little more help. I do have certain facials that dermaplane is just a regular part, so dermaplane blade would be listed in there. That's a disposable. There are times that I like to use those cotton eye compresses, and so I'll put that down on my list. A lot of us, or all of us who give facial, have more than one particular kind of facial. So I usually do list the implements, the items in my biggest facial. You could do this for every single facial you have and then make an average, or you can take your most exclusive or expensive, quote unquote, facial and use that as this CPT calculation. So after you've made a list of everything that you would use to perform a facial that is a disposable, we are then right beside that list, right beside each item, you are going to write how much was the cost to buy it from the company. I like to use universal companies. So if I buy a box of 6-inch wooden Q-tips, that cost is roughly $9.49. That's going to be my cost right next to the word wooden Q-tip. And I'm going to go down the list, right, of everything. How much did I pay for my sleeve of cotton rounds? How much did I pay for my box of 1,000 gloves? How much did I pay for my box of lancets, etc.? And after we have the cost next to each, you're then going to go back to the top of the list and you are going to write how many pieces are in that package. So how many wooden 6-inch Q-tips came in that package for $9.49 for me? And the last one that I bought had a count of 500 in them. You're going to go down the list again. How many gloves were in that box? How many cotton rounds are in that sleeve? All the way down. And this is where you pull your calculator out. And this is where it becomes tedious. You are then going to take the price that you purchased it for, $9.49 for those Q-tips, and we're going to divide it by how many are in each. So for me, it was $9.49 divided by 500, and that gives me the cost of 1 penny. It's actually 0.0199, but a penny, almost 2 cents every time I use 1 Q-tip. Okay, so that gives me the cost of 1 individual item that I will be using within this facial. After we get those costs in there, then we are going to write how many of each of these do I use. So again, we're going to start right up at the top of that list. How many wooden Q-tips do I use? I probably use anywhere from 4 to 6. So I could take an average and say 5, or I could keep it right at that top end and say I use 6. How many gloves will I use? 2. How many cotton rounds? How many sponges? How many, etc., etc. And so you'll go down and you will complete that cost for each and every one. So for me, by the time I'm done using my cotton rounds, Q-tips, lancets, gloves, wax strips, things of that nature, I have used about $9.36. And I got that number through making the list, finding out how much it cost, how many were in the package, then how many I used, and divide that all together. Or again, go ahead and download that Excel sheet for your own cost per treatment, and it's right there and made very simple for you. But again, and not to sound like a broken record, but today's also here to help you figure out how you can make it yourself. So that was category 1, right? Those were the disposable implements to perform your cost per treatment. That's the second category, is your laundry. Now, if you do your laundry at home, I do hope you are using or adding in an amount to write off, because you're using your own water, your electric, wear and tear of your laundry machines, your washers and dryers. I personally, a number of years ago, was like, I am done doing laundry, and I now pay for a laundry service. I drop it off and I pick it up. So the price point for a wash and fold service in central New Hampshire is $1.75 a pound. Now this will be different depending on the region that you are in. And if it's a pickup and redeliver company, you're probably going to pay more than that as well, because that company is going to charge you for gas and the delivering aspect as well. So just based off $1.75 of laundry per pound, I tend to be a little more simplistic when it comes to laundry. Every facial, I use obviously a top and a bottom sheet. I like to use a towel and a full-size towel under their head, a headband, and probably 6 pieces of 6 facial towels for my facial. So I don't know, I think that's probably modest compared to some. Maybe it's not, maybe it's a little more. So I use about 10 pieces of laundry personally. And so for me, when I weighed that with luggage weight, really inexpensive that you can get just off Amazon, and you put it in a net bag or even a trash bag the first time and you weigh it, it'll give you what that average is. Or if you've been in business over a year, take a look at what your year, because we just did taxes, right? Yesterday was tax day, I think. Take a look at what your total amount of, if you have an out service, if you're paying for it, this is. What did you pay in a year's time for laundry, and how many facials did you give, or how many treatments did you give? Divide that and you'll find what your personal average is. But if you're just starting, just get yourself an inexpensive weight luggage and put everything that you're going to throw into the launder after that facial to see what your price is. So again, mine comes to just under $10. So it was 9 and change when I weighed that out at $1.75 per pound. So for easy numbers, I'm putting laundry down as $10 per facial for myself. So category 1 was disposable items. That was $9.36 for me. Category 2 was laundry. I average about $10 per facial for laundry as well. And now let's look at category 3, which is products. So this is also another tedious piece. But the wonderful thing about product cost per treatments is every company usually has, or almost always, I haven't really run up against many that don't have this, they will send you what a cost per treatment per facial is. Now the key here, or the trick, is you have to utilize exactly how much they ask you to utilize. So if you're someone who likes to overuse products, that cost per treatment from your product company is not going to be as accurate as if you were to calculate it yourself. but it will give you a good average nonetheless. So to find out what that cost for products in every treatment is going to be, you're going to start with a list again. What do you use for products in a facial? Again, we have more than one facial. You can either do this per facial and take an average, or you can take your most exclusive, longest, biggest facial and utilize that as a number. So you're going to start with a list. I use cleansers, toners, exfoliators, serums, moisturizers, masks, and everything in between. So list every single one of those out from top to bottom and then go back to the top. How much was the cost for your back bar size, or whatever you're using for a size on your back bar of your cleanser? How much was your back bar cost for your eye treatment product? How much was your back bar cost for your toner, etc., etc.? Then we're going to go back up to the top again once you've made and calculated or added in what the cost of everything was. And what is the size? Try to be the same here. If you're choosing ounces, stick with ounces. If you're using milliliters, stick with milliliters. Personally, I like to stick with milliliters, but let me give you an example of ounces. It's about 6 teaspoons for 1 ounce. If you're in the kitchen a lot, if you like to bake, that's a nice visual reference. 6 teaspoons equals 1 ounce. And this is an average, and sometimes it varies depending on viscosity, how thick or thin the product is. But if you have a dropper, there's about 456 drops per ounce. Okay, so those are good numbers to jot down and have in mind, because that's going to help you calculate how much you're using and what that cost is. Now, you can tell that I'm a mom with what I'm about to give as an example. A nice visual, again, is the medicine cup. I have a 7 and a 5-year-old, so this is very much out all the time for me. But this is a wonderful way to just give a visual of 5 ounces, 10 ounces, excuse me, I apologize, milliliters. 5 milliliters, 10 milliliters, 15 milliliters. So I prefer and I use, for the most part, on my my calculator form, milliliters as the count, okay? Because if I'm gonna wash my hands and I'm thinking of how much goes into it, or if I put my cleanser straight into my hand, I can kind of get a good idea, for me, in milliliters more so than teaspoons. So this is what I like to use. So we're gonna start by going down that list again. How many milliliters or ounces are you using for your cleanser? I'm probably really heavy-handed when it comes to cleansers. I just really like to lather it up, or if I'm using an oil, I really like to spread it more than just the face, but down the neck into the décolleté. So this is where sometimes using the company's CPT of their product line isn't going to exactly match. So I know I use anywhere from 3 to 5 actually milliliters. So if I really want to cut down and make my margins bigger and be more profitable, it really gives you a good insight into where you need to start reducing the amount of products you're using. So let me just back up. We made a list. My cost of let's go with a favorite of mine. I love Wilder North's Primrose Wild Biome Cleansing Oil. I love to use it across the board on everybody. I really get a nice long massage, but because I use it to give a good 10 to 15 minute massage at the beginning of every facial, which is also cleansing at the same time, I use anywhere from 2 to 5 milliliters. But the cost of that back bar, Primrose Wild Biome, was $114. And it's only, I say only, it's a lot, it's a 100 milliliter pump. So if I'm using 2 to 5 milliliters, let's just say 3 in the middle, that's $3.99 out of my cost just for my cleanser that I'm using. So I took the price of what it is, $114, the amount that's in that bottle, which is 100 milliliters, and then once I divided that, I got the actual cost for each milliliter, and then I wrote down how much am I using every time I use this product. I overuse it. We averaged about 3 milliliters, so that's about $3.99 every time I just use that cleanser. Now the same with a moisturizer. If you spent $100 for that back bar moisturizer, that was the cost. Let's, for easy math, say the size was also 100 milliliters. So 100 divided by 100 is 1. So it's $1 for every single milliliter that you're using. As a reference, that would be 5 milliliters. So I probably only use 1 to 2 milliliters to put on moisturizer, and that's kind of heavy-handed as well. So anywhere from $1 to $2 of moisturizer every time I put it on the face. So once you go down that list of everything that you use for products, you've divided your cost into how much is in the bottle and then how much you're using. That's giving you what your cost for products are. Personally, I average about, even though I told you I use almost $4 of cleanser, on average, I'm about anywhere from $15 to $20 just in products for that one facial that I'm executing. So I used, for easy math, $10 in disposable items to execute the facial. I used $10 in laundry to execute that one facial. And I used about $15 in products just to execute that one facial. So that's $35. That's my cost per treatment. That is my cost to execute and deliver one facial. Every time I give a facial, it costs me $35 just to do the facial, my CPT, cost per treatment. Okay? So every time, no matter, we haven't got to the point of the rest of the calculations, but now every time I give a facial and I receive money from my client, 35 of those dollars that represents my CPT should be being moved over into an operating account. I have two operating accounts, operating one and operating two. Operating one is for my costs to perform my treatments, so that when I'm ready to reorder, I've run out of cleanser because I'm overusing it, or when I go to pay for my laundry, or when I need another pack of Lancets or cotton rounds, or whatever the case is, I'm taking the money out of my operational account number one in order to continue having everything that I need readily available for back bar to complete that facial. I hope you're with me so far. So that is also just a piece of it. Sure, that gave you the price point and what you need to move aside to reorder and execute the facial. But now you need to know how much your business is costing you in order to help calculate as well. So the resource that I have on holisticspa-alliance.com, the free calculation form, gives you just what we've gone over, free and complimentary. The rest you can do yourself, or I do have another piece to that if somebody wanted to really personalize what the rest of the cost would be. But the second phase into learning your cost per treatment is your monthly business expenses. So much like we just did it right here, you are now going to make a list of everything that you pay for to run your business. Your lease or your rent, your heat, your electric. Do you pay money to stream music? Do you pay, for instance, I like Canva and I do all my marketing stuff on there. So that's included in my monthly cost to run my business. Do you have an equipment lease? Do you have credit cards out to purchase maybe a machine that you wanted? What is your monthly insurance? And then of course I have things like yearly license renewals. So whatever my yearly license renewal is, like my shop, I believe is only $199 for the year. So I divide that by 12 in order to get what my monthly cost is. So we're going to use some really pretend numbers, but we're going to pretend that everything that it costs me to run my business, from rents to business lease to license renewals, is only $1,000 a month. I know, sign me up for that business plan, please. If it was only $1,000, or if it totals $1,000 a month, or whatever it is, we're using that as easy calculations today. We're going to divide it by 4 weeks. Again, we're doing average. You could be really specific, divide it by 4.5, but for easy numbers, We're going to divide that $1,000 in business expenses by four per week, which means you need to now come up with $250 a week to run your business. Okay. Now, $250 a week is, again, only a piece of it. Now you have paid for your products to execute the facial. It was $35. You need to now come up with $250 every week just to run the business, but we need to pay ourselves if we're independent estheticians. This is also coming from the angle of being, I'm an independent, so now I need to make money in order to pay for my home, my gas, my groceries, my mortgage, my own light bill, the heat for my home. So now we need to factor in home expenses as well. So you're going to do the same thing. You're going to make a list of everything that you pay for your personal lifestyle living. Home rent, apartment rent, home mortgage, whatever it is, light bill, heat bill, groceries per month, how much do I spend in gas per month? And again, if there are yearly things, you would divide that by 12. And what this is doing is it's not going to directly influence 100% of what your costs are going to be when you're determining what your price points are for your facial, but it's going to influence you to know how much you need to work, where your price points need to roughly be in order for you to also make a living for yourself and, you know, pay for your home. And so we're going to also pretend in some La La Land universe that everything to run your home and live your life and pay your bills outside of work is only $1,000 a month as well. So we're going to divide that by 4 weeks out of the month, and that's also $250. So I use these simple numbers to show that business expenses and home expenses together per month are $500. And now is where you need to decide or calculate how many people am I seeing a week and a month. So let's start with how many days a week do you work? Let's say I work 5 days a week. How many clients on average do you see per day? Let's say I did 5 clients every day. So 5 clients a day, 5 days a week is 25 per week, which means I see 100 clients every month. So my business expenses and my home expenses divided by how many clients I see is going to give you that number to know how much per treatment needs to come out in order to cover what those 2 expenses are as well. So that would be, well, in this La La Land of of numbers, it would be $5 per client, which we know is nowhere near accurate on any level. But those were just for simple numbers. So you need to know what your cost per treatment is just to execute the treatment. You need to know what your average monthly costs are to run your business. So you can divide that by 4 weeks in a month. And it is good to know what your home bills average per month so that you can divide that by 4 weeks out of the month. So you have a target of what to achieve. This is going to help with you determining the fact, do I want to take an extra day off and go to the beach? Oh, I've made enough money. I can do that this week. That's one of the perks of owning our own businesses, right? Or if you are a business owner, you would take these numbers and then divide it by how many rooms you have. So it's easier to attain some of these numbers, but you would know it's going to give you a direction and goals to hit in each room that you may have as a business owner so that you're, not falling behind with your finances. On that resource where you can download that calculator sheet also gives you your accurate numbers at the very bottom that tells you how much to move over for operating account number 1. I use operating account number 2 for business expenses. And then I have a personal account that it tells you this much should be put over if you decide to use that resource of the online calculator through Excel that we have for you under holisticspaalliance.com for your use as well, just to make life a little quick and easy, because I think a lot of people don't really dive into what their CPTs are because it's tedious. The first time I sat down and really started to list out what every single item was, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work to bring all that information together, to pull what the costs are, to calculate. It's easy once it's there, but it's just the pulling together and having the time to do it, which is why we wanted to give you a free resource on there. But I hope that this encourages you to really look into what your own cost per treatments are, so you can see and make sure that you are in your business making money and you have appropriate margins that is going to help keep your financial success going. I'm going to look back and see if there's any particular questions. I know that was a lot really fast. And I'm also looking to see if there's anything in there that I wanted to add. I don't think so. So let me see if anybody has any questions. I know the first time I really went through this, it's just a lot to absorb, and it's like, I'll ask questions later. And if that is the case, then that is okay. You